All right, getting ready to blow off the combine. Got to pull the covers off the bottom side of the unloading to get the last stuff out of the grain tank. There's a couple of covers on the other side also. They're kind of on the opposite ends of the horizontal augers. I've got most of the shields pulled off. Next thing we're going to do is prop up the feeder house here and open up the rock trap, which is probably, we got a couple 5-gallon buckets because it's probably packed full of, here's a corn and dirt. Probably should put my dust mask on, but it's out there. So let's see what we got. Yeah, fun stuff. So need to dig out all of this stuff. Such is the glory of the life of a farmer. But at least it's not super dry dust. So it could be worse. On the other hand, it's actually musty, so we'll see if I start sneezing and coughing here at some point. Somewhat lucky in that pretty much all of what I farm doesn't really have rocks naturally, at least. We'll occasionally find some chunks of limestone or concrete or something like that around building sites, or picked one up in the feeder house last fall that was probably a spot where they watered cattle long ago. So we don't normally open this up other than the end of the season or if something breaks or causes problems. So the last time this was opened was probably early September. There, we're getting some fun amounts of dirt and dust. Pretty calm day today though, so at least it's not blowing around. Start to see the front edge of the concave there. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. So that's just a whole bunch of dust and a little bit of corn collected on the front edge of the concave. So if we point the camera up there, you can see the cylinder, you can see the bars there, and then this is the front edge of the concave. There's kind of the shiny part is a bracket, and then the nice green here is the paint from the new concave we put on this year. So got some more of that to dig out. Some crap jammed back in there. And then we'll lower the feeder house down, and there's some shields on the top side also that we'll take off. And then fire up the air compressor and hopefully start blowing some things off. Alright, so we're on top of the feeder house. Next thing we're going to take loose is this panel, which will tip out, but I got to use both hands to do it. And then this piece on the top of the feeder house here, we will loosen up these bolts a little bit. It should slide over and then pick up, although there's a chunk of corn under there that I'm probably going to have to dig out with a pocket knife or something. But we'll get that opened up, and then that'll allow us to kind of blow out the top end of the feeder house and see into the concave to get the dirt knocked out of the middle of that also. Alright, so this is the area we were just looking at. I'm sitting on the ground now rather than laying on the feeder house. But you can see the feeder house chain here. So that carries the crop up on the bottom side and then into the cylinder, which I think I misspoke in that last clip. Cylinder, not concave. The concave's underneath. So this is spinning around and then basically rubs the grain between the cylinder or the bars on the cylinder and the concave to start crushing the grain. Then falls down onto those shoe augers that we described, carries that back to the separation part of the system. So we're on the left side of the combine, just behind the drive tire now. And behind the windshield is the access to the bottom side of the straw walker and kind of the front end of the sieve and chapper, which is the part of the combine that separates the grain from the leaves and stems and pods and whatever residue from the crop that you're harvesting. So this is the top end of those shoe augers. You can see the concave there. So all the threshed grain will come through there and then be carried back onto this. This is, I think, what's actually called the extension. Or no, that's wrong. Pre-cleaner. So when you're running corn, basically, normally you don't have a lot of trash making it through the cylinder because you're hopefully just taking in the ears, not the whole stalks. So basically the grain that falls through here goes straight to the clean grain, and then there's some more similar louvers farther back that will do more thorough separation and, you know, get the cobs and leaves and stuff sorted out, or be able to separate the grain from stuff that's questionable that needs to be sent back up the return elevator to the cylinder again, or out the back over the top if the light stuff, basically there's air that comes through this whole system and floats up the lighter residue, leaves and stuff from the grain, which is hopefully denser and will fall down through the louvers on everything. Up above here we have the straw walkers. So this is what takes everything that doesn't go through the concave, so the stuff that stays between the cylinder and the concave goes out over the top onto the straw walkers, and then basically they sort of oscillate to walk the residue out the back of the combine. There's also there's louvers on them so that if there's grain mixed in with that, it can fall out and then be funneled back into this area. There's kind of some metal pieces underneath the back end that allow the grain to funnel back to the front here. So we got the clean up off on the grain tank. And surprisingly, they aren't too gross. A lot of times you can get a lot of wet crap packed in there. Even the early corn that we did this year wasn't super wet. There's a little more in there than I remembered. If I knew that much was going to come out, I probably would have made a little more effort to catch it, but not that much. So I've got the cleanouts on the other end to take loose, and then I think we'll be ready to fire up the compressor. I did take off the cover on the other side so you can see clear through the combine here. Okay, I think we're ready to start making some dust. I'm mostly geared up here. I'll fire up the compressor. This is an old rotary screw compressor. It's like a 4-cylinder gas motor, but gives us a lot more volume of air than the shop compressor, so we can kind of get things cleaned out, especially like blowing dirt out of inside frame cavities and stuff like that, to try to get as much of the grain and residue and dirt out of there as possible so that the mice don't have a place to play. So I think we're ready to go. See if I remember how to run this thing. You probably can't see the dirt in my eyes, but it kind of hurts when I blink now. Got things pretty well cleaned up, I think. Probably going to need a little bit more time tomorrow, but definitely got a good start on things. I know I'm going to have to go through and pick out some of the crap on the sieves and chaffer. There's a lot of pieces of stock and stuff in there that I haven't messed with yet. But for the most part, I think I got really farther than I thought I might. It seemed like stuff was cleaning up pretty well, and maybe that the combine wasn't as dirty as it is sometimes in years past. I think the last couple days we ran were fairly windy, so I think that probably helped clean things up. And I think I also am getting a little bit better feel for the spots that I need to hit with the air compressor or leaf blower on the daily clean-offs too. Maybe we're getting a little less accumulation in some spots, but overall went fairly smoothly. The compressor sort of acted up a little bit at the very beginning, but it seemed like it ran pretty well the rest of the time. This is actually a compressor that we get from a mechanic that my dad used to use a lot, that I think he bought at an auction or something and fixed up. But definitely has a lot more output than the 5-horse in the shop, so it works pretty well for this because we can actually get stuff cleaned out relatively well. There was a chunk of crap that I just picked out of my eye. Anyway, I think it's probably time to pick up some shields here. I don't know if I'm going to put everything back on, but probably will at least stack stuff on the feeder house and get the combine in the shop here before it gets too much darker, because I think we're just about out of daylight. Alright, got the combine in the shop, and since I had it warmed up running the separator to kind of get as much blown out of the inside as I could, I'm going to go ahead and change the oil. The way that this is set up, the valve is actually up on the engine up above, but there's a tube that comes down. The camera will show it. There's about a 1-inch plastic tube here that comes down from the engine up there. So we'll just hook a bucket. I think we have a wire made to hook onto this hydraulic fitting for the chaff spreader, and then go open the valve up above. I'm gonna have to look and see how many quarts it holds, because I think it may not fit in one bucket, so I'm gonna have to open it up and then run back down here to be able to switch it, I think. But that's pretty much the process. We'll open it and let it drain overnight, and then fill up before we take off in the morning, or before I pull it back out to finish cleaning it up. So basically gonna blow everything off as well as I can to try to get as much dust loose, and then probably will try to pressure wash the outside sheet metal stuff, since we kind of ran in some drizzle. There's a lot of crap that's just like stuck to the sheet metal, but prefer not to use the pressure washer as the primary cleaning, because if you have a whole bunch of dust that gets wet, then that turns into concrete and you have chunks of dirt stuck everywhere. So again, probably going to be too dark to see much, but there's a valve up here on the bottom of the oil pan, so we'll open that up, drain the oil, and then in the morning pull the filter off, or I might pull the filter off tonight, pull the filter off and then just refill through the dipstick tube there. Good morning. It is Thursday, December 5th. I think I said the wrong date on some of the stuff that I recorded yesterday. So if you can see on the video, there's a lot of crap on the ground here, which is what we blew out of the combine yesterday. Got the oil changed, filled back up, all good to go on that, and gonna make kind of a last pass back over a few things to hit some spots where there's still dirt stuck in the frame rails and a few parts in the thresher and stuff here this morning, and then get the compressor taken back, get the combine washed, and get it in the shed before it gets cold and crappy weather next week. So I'm gonna put on the dust gear and get to work on that. Not sure if there's gonna be much to show in the immediate term, but if there is, I'll grab the camera. Well, it's about an hour later, and it hurts to blink my eyes again, although I don't have my contacts in, so that will help a little bit as far as getting the dust out of my eyes. Everything's pretty well cleaned up. Getting dirt out of a combine, I would say, is sort of like cleaning up sand or glitter. You can spend a lot of time, and you're never going to get it all. So sort of try to do the best that we can and get it halfway cleaned up so that it's decent to inspect and do the pre-season maintenance and any work that we do before we start combining next fall. I'm actually maybe going to do a couple things before we park it for the winter, because the I got a set of liners to put in the bottom of the grain tank because I think the steel there is getting kind of thin and I don't want to have it fail during the season. And those loading augers in the bottom of the grain tank are also getting a little bit sharp at the left end. So maybe I'm going to either put poly or kind of do some rebuilding on them somehow. But anyway, the big air compressor is the best thing that we have found to try to get as much of the dirt out of there as possible. And we think works better than a pressure washer because you're not potentially getting water into the bearings right before you park it for a long time. So basically, I will pressure wash the combine here later, but we'll probably mostly just do the sheet metal, or might even put the shields back on before I do the body of the combine to kind of try to keep the water out of the mechanical pieces on stuff. But we're getting there. I don't know if I'm going to get everything done that I wanted to do today, but such is life. Hopefully going to get this washed so that it can sit out in the sun and dry, and then get the air compressor taken back, and hoping to get back over to the waterway that I seeded yesterday to do some erosion control blanket stuff over there, get those put down kind of down the center channel area, and at the lower end where it dumps off into the creek, and get some dirt spread out on the top of those hopefully so that they'll stay put. We don't have any significant rain coming, but it's supposed to get cold, so we want to kind of try to get as much of that done before things freeze up as possible, just in case this is our last chance.